Some people wake up and feel like the weight of the world has already been sitting on their shoulders overnight. They haven't spoken to anyone, haven't checked the news, haven't even left the bed. But already, it's heavy. If you're an empath, you know this feeling. You feel everything, your environment, other people's moods, their wounds, their hidden anger, even if they never say a word. You walk through life like a radio antenna, picking up everyone else's frequency and forgetting your own. We live in a world that celebrates noise, constant alerts, loud opinions, unprocessed trauma and speed. So if you're the quiet observer, the feeler, the emotionally intelligent one, you often feel like you're the one doing it wrong. And then comes the guilt. The guilt of wanting space, of needing to cancel, of setting a boundary, of cutting off a toxic friend, or worse, a parent. The guilt that maybe you're the problem. But what if the real problem is the system that told you to feel ashamed for protecting your peace? Carl Jung said something that can shift your entire perspective. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But here's the thing. Empaths spend years becoming what others expect of them. Fixers, healers, listeners, emotional sponges, often to people who don't even ask how you're doing. And we stay in these patterns because we were trained that it's rude or selfish to walk away. We were taught that respect your parents means tolerating emotional abuse. That family is forever, even when it's hurting your mental health. But listen closely, that belief system is outdated. It's survival-based, and it's keeping you in loops of burnout and spiritual confusion. Here's the truth that most people deny. No one, not your friend, not your boss, not your mother, has the right to drain your energy. Love without respect is not love, and relationships without reciprocity are not sacred. They are soul traps. In Jungian psychology, individuation is the path of discovering your true self, beyond social masks. And for empaths, that path means one crucial thing. You have to learn to detach. Detach from roles, from guilt, from shame, from the idea that being a good person means self-abandonment. You were not born to carry the emotional debris of others. You were born to transform. But you can't do that if your energy field is tangled in other people's shadows. So, if you're constantly tired, constantly doubting yourself, constantly wondering why you can't get motivated, it's not that you're lazy, it's that you're energetically cluttered. Before we continue, if you're someone who loves expanding your mind and exploring the deeper layers of life, make sure to subscribe to Fractal Wisdom so you never miss a download like this. Stay until the end of this video, because we're going to unpack how detachment, shadow work, and a little bit of strategic selfishness can unlock your purpose. Let's talk about something no one really warns empaths about. Being good can destroy you. We're conditioned, especially if you're sensitive, intuitive, or emotionally aware, to believe that goodness means self-sacrifice, that your strength is in how much pain you can hold, how long you can stay in a relationship that doesn't feel good, how much you can tolerate before you finally break down. But Carl Jung was clear. When we deny our instincts, our shadow takes over. The shadow is everything you repress, your anger, your grief, your desire to walk away from people who misuse your kindness. And when you ignore it, you don't transcend it. You become it unconsciously. That's why so many empaths explode after years of being nice. They burn out, or snap, or spiral. Not because they're weak, but because they were never taught that their needs matter. So let's say it clearly. You have a right to walk away. From your friend who only calls when they're in crisis, from the family that mocks your sensitivity, from the partner who guilt trips you into emotional labor every day. This isn't selfish, it's sacred. In fact, healthy detachment is the highest act of self-love an empath can practice. Carl Jung emphasized individuation, the lifelong process of becoming your true self, as the only way to inner peace. But individuation doesn't happen in people-pleasing. It doesn't happen when you're consumed by guilt because someone told you that cutting off family is heartless. Not everyone is meant to go with you on your healing journey. Some people were part of your wounding. Some relationships are contracts meant to break when the lesson is learned. And guilt is just a low-frequency emotion programmed into you to keep you obedient. It's not moral, it's mental control. Same with shame. These are energetic toxins. You don't need to heal through them, you need to release them. And here's something even more liberating. You're allowed to care less. Not about life, not about your dreams, but about other people's opinions, about who misunderstands your silence, about disappointing those who benefited from your lack of boundaries. Jung said, shame is a soul-eating emotion. And he was right. It devours your drive, it stifles your fire, and it turns motivation into fear. So the solution? It's radical, it's powerful, and it works. You start caring more about your energy than your reputation. You stop explaining yourself. You stop rescuing people who don't want to grow. You stop believing that your worth is in your ability to be endlessly available. And something magical happens. Motivation returns. Not forced, not fabricated, just natural. Because suddenly, there's space. Space for your voice, for your vision, and for your actual mission. And now that we've pulled the guilt up by the roots, what do we plant in its place? One word: clarity. Clarity is the antidote to empathic overwhelm. But clarity doesn't come from doing more. It comes from energetic boundaries, what I call energy hygiene. Think of it like brushing your soul's teeth. Because here's the unspoken truth. Empaths don't need more motivation. They need less interference. Carl Jung might not have used the word energy hygiene, but he deeply understood psychic boundaries. He believed that our unconscious constantly communicates through archetypes, symbols, and energetic impressions. If you're an empath, you live in that world. But without intentional boundaries, you absorb what isn't yours. Other people's fears, collective anxiety, the emotional sewage of a toxic ex still lingering in your aura months later. And that's not poetic. It's energetic law. Here's something not everyone knows about. Not all energy is sacred. Some of it is sticky, parasitic, manipulative, and deliberately distracting, especially from people who've never done their inner work. And if you're sensitive, open-hearted, and spiritually awake, but unprotected, you're the perfect host. That's why clearing your space is not optional. Take inventory. Is your phone a portal for panic? Are your DMs a dumping ground? Is your apartment full of items from someone who hurt you, but you never threw away? Do you sleep next to a person who secretly resents your glow? Every object, every conversation, every room holds frequency. And frequency is either lifting you or looping you. Jung taught that the unconscious is a vast reservoir, but you must descend into it with awareness. Empaths do this unconsciously all the time. They feel deeply, but often forget to ask, is this mine? Here's a practical start. Burn the letter. Block the number. Clean your space with music and intention. Meditate with no goal other than releasing what doesn't belong. Use this mantra. If it drains me, it doesn't deserve me. And now, the most radical thing of all. Start saying no without explanation, even to your mom, especially to the one who always says, after all I have done for you. Empaths are often programmed to equate love with suffering. That has to end, because if your light is real, and it is, then you're here to create, build, heal, innovate, share. That takes energy, focus, and unapologetic detachment. And no, this isn't cruelty, it's clarity. You're not being mean by protecting your mission. You're just no longer volunteering to be someone's emotional landfill. So don't try to fix everyone. Fix your frequency. The right people will align when you're no longer in survival mode from other people's chaos. You were never meant to be small, but they made you believe that being kind meant being quiet, that being empathetic meant being available, that being spiritual meant being self-sacrificing. That was programming, conditioning, a system designed to keep you useful, but not powerful. Because a powerful empath, that's rare. That's dangerous to the status quo, and that's exactly what you're becoming. Carl Jung's concept of individuation was not about blending in, it was about integration. Meeting your shadow, owning your wholeness, becoming fully yourself, not what the world told you to be. And guess what? That process is uncomfortable, isolating, even disruptive to your old identity. That's why the path to motivation, for you, is not hustle, it's healing. And the biggest healing of all, permission to be selfish, not in the narcissistic, screw everyone way, but in the soul-rooted, I choose me way. The way that honors your boundaries, the way that values your time, the way that says, my needs matter too. When you stop over-functioning, you begin to hear your own voice again. You start remembering your mission, your art, your path, and your essence. That's where motivation comes from. Not force, not deadlines, not guilt, but from alignment. You get clear, you get still, you get real. And suddenly you stop leaking energy into other people's wounds. You stop explaining your healing. You stop apologizing for your glow. Because you realize something profound. No one has the right to dim you, not even those who say they love you. Especially not them, if that love comes with control, guilt, or obligation. It's okay to leave the dinner table if your soul isn't being fed. It's okay to want a life that feels clean, light, intentional. It's okay to protect your space like it's sacred, because it is. And here's the wild twist that most people never see coming. When you finally become selfish enough to heal, the right people start finding you. People who don't need to be fixed. People who are walking their own path. People who love you in your power, not your pain. So don't water yourself down to be digestible. Let the full you be seen. Let your focus return by detoxing from what was never yours. Let your energy speak louder than your words. Because your mission as an empath is not to save everyone. Your mission is to stay clear, stay sovereign, and become the lighthouse. And the lighthouse does not chase ships. It stands tall, steady, and powerful. Some ships find their way. Others crash. That's not your responsibility. Yours is to shine. If this message felt like medicine for your soul, don't keep it to yourself. Hit subscribe so you never miss a moment like this, and leave a comment below. Let's talk about what you're walking away from and what you're walking toward. This isn't just a channel. It's a space for deep feelers who are finally choosing themselves,